Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our library Twitch stream. Um, so today I'm Paul. I'm the digital services librarian here at Mulligan Hill Library, and flying solo today. And I thought I would do something a little bit different before I continue. Let me just check the audio settings here, make sure you guys can hear me. All right. Wouldn't be a Twitch stream if there wasn't something weird going on. Okay, so the filters do travel from one scene to the next on OBS. I actually wasn't sure, so that's good to know. So today, I thought I would do a demonstration of how to take old school pixel art sprites. We'll probably use something from Super Mario Bros. 3, and we will make a vector image out of that, and then we will take that into a 3D software program and give it some depth, and then we can send that over to a 3D printer and print them out. So you have like a printed out version of video game art. And I have a couple of examples here. So here's one I've done of Mario, and this is just a single. I did one in just a red plastic. You can see, hopefully that's focusing on there. You can see it has some depth to it. If you can get that, there we go. You can kind of see it has all the detail there. I also have one of Link in all Link green. And I have one other one. Here's a little Pikachu. And these are relatively easy to make. And everything we're going to be showing today is going to be using free software, in some cases open source, but at least free. And so you can figure out, you can follow along and learn how to do this on your own. So the first thing we'll have to do is get some sprites, and so I have some things bookmarked here. So if you're looking for video game sprites, the best place to go that I've found is a place called the Spriters Resource. Every bit of the video game, they'll have like the characters, the enemies, the backgrounds, the items. Everything's in there, usually in a separate sheet, so it's very easy to find. And I will say, just a word of warning, sometimes some of this stuff might not be safe for work, because I know that they also, in addition to taking games and ripping them, they take fan-made stuff as well. So, you know, be careful on the internet when you're browsing around. Oh, and so the most popular game of all time on the NES, Super Mario Bros. And 3 are right here, so I'm going to go Mario 3. But you can click on any of these and just go alphabetically if you need to find a specific game. So you can see Mario and Luigi here. We've got the bosses, the enemies, all the stages. And it must have all, yeah, it has all the world maps. Every single image that shows up in the game you can get here. We're just going to take Mario, probably small Mario standing, just to make it a faster kind of vector art. And let's download this sheet. Let's throw that onto my desktop. And for the graphics program, we're going to be using this is a free alternative to Photoshop called GIMP, G-I-M-P. And so I'm just going to bring that image into GIMP. And you can see this thing is gigantic. You only need one little part of it. So I'm going to use Z to zoom in. And just zoom in a little bit there, and you can see small Mario. Which one do we want to use? He looks really weird when he's facing forward. I'm thinking we'll use something like that or that. The jumping one's good, but I'm thinking of if you want to stand it on something, like put it on a shelf or something like that, you want to be able to make sure it can balance. So let's go with small Mario, maybe just this one here. I'm going to zoom in a bit more. And I'm just going to crop him out into a separate file. And you can see here the size. This is going to be important. It's a 12 by 15 image. We'll need that later on when we're bringing this into the vector program. So for now, let's just remember 12 by 15. I'm going to Control-C to copy that, and then I'll make a new image that is 12 by 15 pixels, and paste that tiny Mario in there. Oh, copy the whole thing. Okay, hold on. Didn't want to copy that. Oh, I had crop selected instead of, whoops. Didn't have the selection. I had crop. Here, so let's do this one more time. Control-C, go to our new image, Control-V paste, and paste him as a new layer. And he's very tiny. I'm going to save that as an image, but then I'm going to blow him up too and save a second one. So let's go to the desktop, and I'll save him as small Mario. And I want a JPEG file type. Oh, maybe I have to export it. I'll export it as a JPEG. Export as ping, that's fine. Okay, small Mario on the desktop. All that's fine. And now I'm going to blow him up. Usually I remember the name. I put 12 by 15 like in the name, so I'll remember the size. So I'll have to remember that I didn't do that. But you can see down here, this is 1000% magnified. It's very small right now. So let's go to image, scale image, and percent. Yeah, let's say 1200%. It's going to be very big. One thing you definitely want to do when you're blowing up pixel art, under this interpolation, none. You want it to be just a straight, otherwise it's going to make it really blurry because it tries to blow it up but keep the close pixels blurred, which is good if you're doing like a photograph or something like that, but for pixel art, you want to keep those lines straight. So scale it up like that. And you can see the lines are still very straight. So now if he's 100%, that's a good size. So let's do a file, export as small Mario larger. And I'm going to put in 12x15 so I remember the file, the original size, because I will need that original size in a moment. Okay, so here you can see we've got our image crop that we want. Now it's time to bring it into a vector art program. And so I'm going to use most people would use the vector art program, Illustrator from Adobe. Much like Photoshop, there's free open source alternatives. So we're using a program called Inkscape. And that allows us to do pretty much all the same stuff that Illustrator can do, especially for the simple kind of things we're going to be doing here. And maybe before I bring in the image, just as a quick tutorial on what vector images are as opposed to a raster image, because vector art isn't something a lot of people have dealt with. So if we bring in let's bring in that original Mario in. I'm sure everyone from time to time has done this. If you have a small JPEG or a PNG and you blow it up, I do not want to use AI. You want to blow it up really big. And you can see here already, it's as big as it's going to let me get. 800, I guess so. But you can already tell, like, we blew this up a little bit, and it's already really, really blurry. And that's what I was talking about, like, you know, it's trying to... this is a little different than the scaling I was talking about, but you've done this before. If you take a JPEG, you blow it up too big, it gets really blurry. And that's because each pixel on... Let's go back to 100%, as close as we can get. So it's not really tiny. Maybe we'll bring in the one we made a little bit larger so we can see. Each pixel here is information about what is on the screen. Like each part of that picture is saying this pixel's blue, this pixel's red, this pixel's black. So if you blow them up, it's trying to give an approximation of where those would be if they were larger. So that's why it gets kind of blurry, because it only has information for those individual pixels. When you blow it up, it's kind of faking what it would look like blown up, what would be between those pixels. Vector art, on the other hand, is a little different. Instead of being pixel-based, let's do a circle real quick. And I'm going to do a line just as an example here. Let's pencil tools. I draw from here to here. That's a good example, I guess. No, it didn't fill it in. All right, we'll use this sphere. But so for vector art, it's saying, okay, there's a point here. Like if I had a line, there's a point here and a point here. Draw a line between those. So if you get the image magnified, you still have a point here and a point here, and it's drawing a line between them. So it's all mathematics based. It doesn't change the quality of the image just because you're getting a different size. So like you can see this curve here. If we blew this up in a raster image, it would be really blurry. If we blow it up here, you can see the closer you get, it's still, there's no jaggies or anything like that. It's perfectly smooth. And that's because it's just looking at the points. In this case, it's probably, with a sphere, I'm kind of guessing, but there's probably points along the sides, and then it's curving. It's saying there's a point here and a point here, curve a line between those 2 points, so it's still points-based. So that's just a quick thing on what the difference between vector and raster art is, and you need vector art to do this next step, which is going to be to bring it into a 3D model. So let me get rid of that, and I guess my other thing isn't there. All right, so let's bring in our Mario. And this is why I put 12 by 15, because we'll need to know that in this next section here. Let's bring this character in. I think all that is fine. And I'm going to change the document because we want it to fit exactly to Mario's size. And I'm going to change, okay, so if it's already set to millimeters, so that's good. And we said, what, 12 by 15? I think was the image. 12 by 15, okay. So we're going to make this 120 by 150. So we're just taking the 12 by 15 and multiplying it by 100. And then go into grids, because we want a grid essentially of each individual pixel. So rectangular grid, new, millimeters, make sure it's set to millimeters because it might not be by default. And the spacing should be, is it 1? I think it's 10 by 10 is what I've been doing. That looks right, okay. X out of that. And then snapping isn't on, we need snapping on. That is over here. Toggle that on. That is better. Okay, so now it's snapping. And I think we don't need, if I tag the bounding box, I think we're still, okay, yeah, so I think we just need the other ones. So now it's snapping, we'll snap it up to the corner here. And this should work, but if I drag this all the way, hopefully this will work. If we drag this all the way with Control, left click and pull, and we should get, yep, it's exactly the right size. Good, okay, that worked. And so I'm going to use the plus and minus buttons. We can zoom in a bit. That looks good. Now we're going to look at our layers. Layer 1 is just the sprite image. And now what we're going to do, just realized I don't have the right camera on here. Now you should be able to see it. Okay. Oh my gosh. You've been looking at my face the entire time. Okay, so now it should be the image and the, okay, good. So we've got this here. And what we're going to do is, if you can see the, let me bring up that sprite again. Now I can't go back to that, so I can just see what I'm looking at here. So if you can see, there's depth to these layers. Each layer is a different height. That's actually each color. So I took the red, this was Super Mario Bros. 1, so the color's a little bit different. I think it was like brown, red, and something else. Whoops. Yeah, so what we're going to be doing is, so for the layers here, we're going to be doing the black, red, and peach as separate layers. And so what we'll do is, the black will probably be the, since the black covers most of it, it would make sense for it to be the background, the lowest layer. But then if you look at this, like the overalls, it would make sense to have the overalls be the top layer. So it is going to look a little bit different using the black as the back layer. Realistically, I guess the peach should be the back layer, and then black, and then red. Maybe the red on top would look the best. Neither way is perfect, because that way, like, the button on his overalls is peach, so that's going to be kind of underneath then the overall layer, so that'll look a little bit weird, but it's kind of a one or the other. Like, you can see with this one that the buttons were also kind of the bottom layer on that one, so yeah, it's just because the color, if you're using colors as layers, they don't always work like that. Sometimes they work out better than others, but it'll still look like you'll still be able to see it, and it'll look okay, I think. But yeah, so for the first layer, let's go sprite 1. And so layer 1 will be peach, we'll say. And so let's select layer 1, and so that is going to be the entire image. We're going to make the entire, oh, we need to make that kind of more of a transparent. Go down to the corner here. This is your transparency, so let's put this at about 40 so we can see through it. And I'm going to make it kind of a bright color so I can tell what I'm looking at here. And we could have just done this entire thing as a rectangle, really, because we're going to add handles to it and change the shape, so it's the entire outline. So let's go to Path, Object to Path, and then select the nodes, and now we can move these 4 nodes around on the rectangle. But more importantly, if we double-click on the lines, we can add another node as well. And so I'm going to zoom in. And so we're just going to be adding nodes and going around the entire outline of Mario. Oops, that one didn't quite. There we go. Want to make sure they snap perfectly to the corners are supposed to, because otherwise it might look a little bit weird when we go into 3D. When you get to the corners, sometimes it wants to snap to a different spot on the edges, and that might be no, we don't have bounding boxes on, so I'm not sure why it's doing that. But just be aware that you want it to snap to the right section. This is a good time to have some kind of nice video game music playing, because these parts can certainly be feel redundant. And put that up there. First layer is always the easiest because you're just pretty much doing an outline of the entire thing. I guess it doesn't always work out like that, but most of the time it seems to. I'm still questioning whether or not Peach was the right choice. I mean, it wouldn't make sense for the black to be all the way in the background, but that would probably make it easier. But I'm going to see how this looks. It would also be easier if I was doing black as the background, because then I'm just noticing there's a lot of smaller pieces of black everywhere that we're going to have to do ourselves. Whereas if you're doing the entire outline, if the first layer is black, then just everything is black. You don't have to worry about it. But that's okay. It won't take that long to fix up. And you can see layer 1's done already. I'm going to back up a little bit so you can see. So that will be our peach layer. So we're going to make another layer now. Layer 2. We see that one's black, and then 3 will be red. I think that makes the most sense. So this one's black. I'm going to click the eye on layer 1 so I don't see that anymore, so it doesn't confuse me. Go back to the rectangle, and now, yeah, now it's going to be annoying because everything's black's everywhere. Because it's the outline too. So we'll make individual rectangles for each black element. And as long as it's just a solid, like it's just a straight up rectangle, you don't have to worry about doing the like path, object to path thing. You can just leave them as rectangles. So this part's pretty easy. You can see it like when it, maybe I want to turn off the alignment. Maybe the alignment's throwing me off with this thing. Let's see. Nope, it's still, that one wasn't it. Let's see, enable snapping on the alignment. No, I'm still getting that weird kind of, I don't want that handle there. I just want to snap to these boxes. Yeah, let me go back to what I had. Just a bit of a pain. I don't know which one is causing it to give these unhelpful guides. Maybe it's only bounding boxes. Now I'm just playing around and seeing if I can do it. Now I'm not going to get anything. Alright, anyway. So then we get something like this. Obviously this one's not a rectangle, so we're going to start it as a rectangle. And then we'll do the object path. Click on nodes. And now we can make it the shape we need. And you can click R for rectangle, goes back to rectangle. And then once again, object to path, nodes, and let's add our nodes in. R for rectangle. Oops, that didn't snap right. Dang it. Path, object to path, nodes. Rectangle. And sometimes if you click somewhere else and then you start making a rectangle, it's possible it'll put the rectangle on a different layer or on a new layer. You can always just click the rectangle and drag it into the layer you want, or if there's multiple ones, you can click and then shift click to select the whole group of them and then drag them all into the layer you want. Oops. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Okay. Edit, redo. Back to this layer. I think if you single click a single click on the image, then it will be the image layer, and that could be what sometimes messes me up. I guess I'll put that up here. Here, what do I? Did I not take that? Object to path. Oops. Okay, I guess I didn't turn it to a... I didn't take it to an object to path accidentally. I've done this program a couple times now at the library as like a little bit of like a class kind of thing, and usually have a group of teens that come in and they can take to it really fast. They can grasp a concept very quickly. And then afterwards, like the 3D printing, since it takes a while, that part we don't do during the program. I usually just grab their model and tell them like the next day it'll be ready, because they're pretty small models I print out, like you saw them. Or it's only like a 2.5, 3 inches maybe. Almost done with the black layer, which will probably be the most annoying one. Like I said, usually I would put this as the background layer, but since it's also his overalls and hair, it just made more sense to put it in the middle. Okay, so and we're 2/3 of the way there. Just one more color to go. We got red, and that one's there's like a bit of red in here, so let's hide that layer again, make a new layer. There, 3 red. And then just like before, R for rectangle, and drag it out. Path, object to path, node, and fit it around the red. R for rectangle, path, object to path, and node. I can't believe that for the first 10 minutes of this thing, I was just filming my face instead of the screen. Well, we always upload the archives of these videos to the library's YouTube page, which links in our about if you want to check that out. I have a feeling I'll have to do some editing on this one. Try and make it so you're not just staring at my face for 10 minutes. I'll have to reenact the beginning part so you can see that what that we're doing. I guess you didn't see the whole how to grab Mario from the sprite sheet and everything, but that's okay. We'll fix it in post, I guess. And we're almost done. All right, so now if I get rid of the sprite image and just show the other layers, you can see, oh, they're all the same colors, so that doesn't help a lot. I should have made them different colors so you can tell them apart a bit more. Maybe I'll highlight everything. This is peach, right? So let's make that peach. Highlight everything black. I can highlight everything. This is red. They're still at 40% transparency. That's why they're a bit weird looking, but so there you go. We got all the pieces, and as long as everything looks right there with the sprite unchecked, you don't want that sprite in there anymore. So we've got our vector art of Mario. And so what I'm going to do right now, I saved this a couple times. I'm going to file, save as, documents. Just have to find it easier. Mario. Mario sprite. And so this is saving it as an SVG file, which is a vector graphics file. So I'm saving it as all 3 layers, but I'm also going to save individual layers. So this is, I'm going to save this as Mario sprite layer 1 each. And then just keep doing that for each one. So save as layer 2 black. Save as layer 3 red. -50, okay. So now we've got our 3 SVG files, 4 technically, but there they are. And so now what we're going to do is take those SVG files and, like I said, 3D art is also vector art for a lot of programs. So we're going to be turning that into a 3D image. And we're doing that with another piece of free software. This one here is called Tinkercad. Tinkercad is a free piece of 3D modeling software. It's free, but you do need to make an account, which is nice because then it saves all of your files. And you can go to any browser. It's all browser-based. Don't have to download anything. And so I already have mine open. My account's up. So I'm going to go to create a new 3D design. And hopefully something will happen soon. Hopefully it didn't log me out as I was waiting so long. Okay, it looks like it's... Okay, so here we go. So usually you can take all these shapes and drag them on here. make them any size you want. You can even smooth things out, like you have these hard corners, you can take the radius, up the steps, makes things nice and smooth. You can see you're given the dimensions for things in X and Y, so that's 52 millimeters tall there. But what we're going to do...
Imagine never paying for groceries again from now
Okay,
to March
hold on.
31st every time
Let
you
me
shop.
mute the ads that are in my relaxing video game background music. And what we're going to do is you can import, and you can import STLs, OBJs, or SVG files. So that's what we're going to do. Skip this yet? Background music. Okay. All right. So let's drag in layer 1, and that's also why I put the layer number and the color in there, so that way I'll know what order to do these in. Layer 1, and it is peach, so I'll know to color it peach as well, because it just assigns it like a random color. And depending on the complexity of your SVG file, it might take a few moments. So there we go. You can not worry about these sum elements removed, and you can already see by default it gave it some depth. And make sure not to move anything until we're all done, because it's going to put everything in the same place, so we can stack all 3 layers right on top of each other. But I am going to click it and change the color to more of a peachish. Let's see. Is that a good peach? I guess that's just a pretty good peach shade right there. All right, so now we go to import, drag layer 2 in. And there we go, layer 2 is black, so I'm gonna click that and make sure, since they're all kind of overlapping, you can see like that's why you're getting these weird kind of strobiness there, because it's kind of occupying the same exact space. So when you click on something, make sure you can see here that I've clicked on the right layer. It's the pink one, which we want to change black. So if I clicked here, you can see it's the peach one. So you can tell which one you're on, and we're going to change that down to black. And then import layer 3 red. And change that to red. And there we go. We got a 3D model. And you can still see it's doing that weird thing because they're all the same height. So it doesn't know what layer should be in front of other layers, which we'll fix now. Before we do that, you might want to select everything by click and drag the rectangle over everything, so you have everything selected. And this is pretty big right now. It's millimeters. This is 150 by 120, which is what we told it we wanted in the vector art. But now you probably don't want it that big, because that's gonna be pretty big. So I'm going to shift and drag to make sure it does it evenly. And 50 is a pretty good height, 50 millimeters. And then I'm just going to click in the middle and drag that over. Just going to put some in the middle of the plane there. So I think 50 is probably a little bit bigger than our Mario guy here. Probably about 4 inches, 3 inches. I forget exactly. Maybe 3.5 inches. So that's a pretty good size. You can make it whatever you want, but I feel like I want to change that size first before I start changing the height, the layer heights here. So now what we're going to do is layer 1 was peach, so I'm going to start with the highest layer, the red. I will click away so we're not selecting anything, and make sure you have red selected when you click on there. You should, if you click on those sections. Pardon me. It should select the right one, but make sure it does. And the middle handle here, at 3.33, that's the layer height. And so we're going to want to change that to, I'm just putting out a number here, but let's say 7 millimeters in height. And then the black was the second layer, so we'll make that one 6. And then peach, 5. And so now, there we go. He looks really good from top down. And then if you look at the side, you can see these are all different layer heights, which is going to be important when you're 3D printing it. Because if we made it all the same layer height and you're printing in one color, then you're not going to be, it's just going to be like a silhouette. It'll be completely, flat. But with different layer heights like this, that's how you get this, oops. That's how you get this looking, as it does. Like those layer heights let you see the image. And I actually have a Super Mario Bros. 3, but this one I did the black as the back layer because I figured it was the easiest way to do it. But you can see it did make it look weird because his hair is in the back, his overalls are in the back, and they really shouldn't be. So I think this one is going to be a better representation of the way it should probably print out to look. It'll read better, I think. All right, so you've got this 3D model now of your sprite. So next, let's export that as an STL file. So STL files are what you'd usually use to 3D print. That stands for stereolithography. Most 3D printers are going to read STL files. If you've ever gone to like Thingiverse or printables, those are all STL files that you can download there. It's pretty much the standard for 3D printing. So we're going to drag, select everything. You don't really have to select everything here. Because when you export, it does ask you only the 3 selected shapes or everything in the design. Well, in this case, everything that's selected is also everything in the design, so it doesn't matter. But you could just not select anything and select this option here. But we want our STL print here. Oh, we never changed it. It gives you a generic name. I never changed that, so it called it that. That's the name of the file there. Kind of weird, but okay. So we put that in our. Oof, got a lot of programs open. That in our desktop. And then, so in order to use this part's going to vary depending on what you're using to 3D print. Everything up till now has been pretty universal, which is great about 3D printing. Like into all, everything I've shown you from using the Ping sprite sheets, into GIMP, to resizing it, to bring it into Inkscape to do the vector art, to bring it into Tinkercad to do the STL. Universal no matter what 3D printer you're using. This part's going to vary a little bit. I'm going to open up our Prusa slicer. That's specifically for our Prusa 3D printer. But a lot of slicers, what are the other popular ones, like Cura? This method I think would be very similar. And I'm just going to drag that into normal mode because I might need some other options. We'll drag our STL file in here. And there you can see, it's kind of hard because these are all one color right now, so it's hard to see unless you look at the side where you see the depth. But one of the things I love about the Prusa printer is that it can tell that there are different layers here, and it might try to separate them, thinking that, oh, these are probably, the layers are probably different colors, which in this case they are. So it might be able to automatically detect that for us. We'll see. But regardless, if you had any kind of model printer, drag the STL file in here. It won't need supports because everything's flat, so you don't have to worry about that. So you can pretty much just, at this point, print it out and you'd be good to go. If you're printing in, we have a MakerBot Replicator Plus in addition to the Prusa in our Maker Studio, and it would be quite similar. Like you just take the STL file we made, drag it onto the plane and hit print, it'd be good to go. And you'd be able to print it out in one color. And that would be, pretty much just like these here that I've shown. You'd get things like this. But Prusa allows you to get a little fancier. And a lot of the newer printers can do stuff like this, but if you wanted to make each layer their own color, you can do something like this. I think, hopefully you can see that on there, because I can't see what the camera's seeing right now. This is me doing a Ninja Turtle from TMNT1 on the NES. And this I did on the Prusa because it sees these sprite art, pixelized sprite arts, and it sees it as a logo. And so it's like, do you want me to try and separate each one of the layers into its own color? And yes, we do. So, like I said, I think Cura and a lot of the newer slicer programs can do this. But if we hit slice now, you'll see here, note, sliced object looks like a logo or sign. Apply color change automatically. So if we do that, there you go. It's found each one of the layers as their own color. And so now what this is going to do is when it slices it, you'd have to slice it again. Slice now. And now what the machine's going to do is each time it gets to a different color, since our Prusa is only one, it can only do one color at a time. But when it gets to a color change, it will stop printing and tell you to change out the color. So then you can change it out to the appropriate color, load in the color, and then tell it to continue, and then it'll continue on until it gets to the next color change. You can see right here it would take 23 minutes to do the main color, and then it would take 11 minutes, and then 4 minutes. And if we drag this here, you can see here's all of the individual colors. These are all the layers. And you can see the thing I'm dragging here has a little plus. If, for whatever reason, you couldn't get it to automatically detect the color, or if it didn't do it correctly, you can actually go to the layer you want, hit the plus button, and it will add that as a new color layer. And it'll know, okay, then I will stop and wait for you to switch out the colors. I'm not going to click plus now, I'm just going to click and drag it back up because it did do them all correctly. So at that point, I would export the G code and load it into the Prusa slicer, or the Prusa 3D printer, and it would be good to go. And so then you get things like this, you can have it be fully colored. You have to be careful because since each color is a different layer, maybe I'll bring this over to the. Let's see if I can see the camera again. Webcam full screen. So each color is its own layer, so it looks fine from the front. But if you were making something that had a lot of colors, then that means imagine if the bandana was 5 layers above. It's going to look really weird after a while, and even from the front it's going to start looking strange. So I do try to keep my colors limited to 4 at the most. This one has a little bit of a smudge. I kind of messed up on this, but here's Kirby, and you can see I used the black, since it has a black outline around the entire thing, and then the black eyes and mouth. I just did the black as the first layer, and then you can see I did the red as the second layer, and pink as the final layer. Oops. And yeah, that's really all there is to it. So I've been doing this for a while now, and it's been a really fun kind of project to kind of. First, I was just doing straight sprites like these guys. Oh, I wonder if I can do. First I started with this. I was wondering if I could do a Mario sprite, and I did, and then I started getting fancy with the colors, and I was like, oh, I can do a color sprite, and that was fun too. So after a while I started doing, I don't have the one I changed of Link, but I started doing sprite edits. And so you can see with this one, the problem with Link is he has his walk animation. He doesn't have a standing still idle animation. So for him, he always has one leg up in the air. So I started doing some basic sprite edits after that. And so what I did when I was in the vector part of the program, instead of just tracing a straight, trace of it, I was like, well, let me just move, these handles down and kind of essentially make another foot. So I had his foot like kind of reflecting the one side, reflected the other side. So that way he could stand up evenly. I don't have that one with me, but that was another one that that I printed, and it kind of gave me a little bit more confidence to be like, okay, I can kind of do some edits. I started doing some color edits on some of the sprites and some minor edits like that, usually just changing their pose so they would stand well on a shelf. So the next thing was, okay, I've done edits, so now can I do like entire sprite art on my own and kind of print that out differently? So I started playing around with those. So I did I have this one here. This is an original one that I did myself. Then I've got a really big gradie I made. So these are sprite arts that I kind of designed myself, and then did the same exact process you saw here. Like the process is always the same. It's just what sprite you're starting with. And if you wanted to do any sprite edits or create pixel art on your own, there's a good program called Sprite. Now Sprite I think does cost some money, but there's a free open source branch of it called LibreSprite. I think it's how you pronounce it, LibreSprite. LibreSprite, LibreSprite. And that's a really good sprite editing program. So that is everything, I think, from the beginning to the end, taking an image and editing it down so it's just that sprite, and then blowing it up, bringing it into the vector art, bringing the vector art into Tinkercad, making that 3D rendition of it, and then exporting the STL. And that's how to take a video game sprite and making it into a 3D print. So hope you enjoyed the kind of different, a little bit of a different change today. I'm going to go back to webcam full screen here. There we go. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this kind of slightly chill version. I was like, oh, I'm going to do some sprites. I'm going to listen to some video game music. I'm going to drink some tea while I'm doing this. And so yeah, hope you enjoyed watching, and this is the Twitch channel of the Gloucester County Library, and we put out a Twitch stream every other Thursday, usually from 3 to 4. And so we'll see you next time. Probably going back to video games next time, but if I get any other fun art projects we can do or anything like that, maybe we can try something else, in the future as well. All right, thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you next time.